Update 3 on Tropical Storm Kalmaegi, which has just weakened from a typhoon, still with winds of 70 miles per hour and a pressure of 978 millibars. Its position is 18.2 degrees north, 119.9 degrees east, as of 8 PM UTC September 14th. Whilst it's not a typhoon anymore, the storm is still delivering heavy rains over the Philippines and, of course, strong winds that are still gusting into hurricane force. And whilst it doesn't show it on the forecast track, there is still a possibility for the storm to regain typhoon status as it crosses the South China Sea. Now that seems somewhat unlikely, though we'll see about that. The storm's expected to move towards China, southern China, and make landfall there, perhaps just north of Hainan Island along that peninsula there, and finally maybe making a final landfall in Vietnam before weakening and dissipating. Looking at the Philippines, Signal 3 warning still in effect for the northernmost provinces of Luzon. Signal 1 and 2 warnings in effect further south, almost extending as far as the Metro Manila area, but not quite. But that's a fair chunk of Luzon that are under some sort of warning signal at this time. Of course, heavy rains could lead to flooding and mudslides, and strong winds may also cause problems. Signal 1 warning, standby warnings also in effect for Hong Kong at this time, and expected in Macau very soon. Sea surface temperatures are hovering around 30 degrees Celsius, very warm indeed, and that's going to remain the case until landfall in China, where it may drop just a little bit if it moves further towards the north. Wind shear is possibly going to be the greatest threat for now, because there are high amounts of wind shear to its immediate west, and increasing as well at that, though the storm may have more luck as it heads towards China near the coasts of China and Hainan. There's the latest satellite imagery of the storm. It's looking a little bit disorganised, especially towards the northern side of the storm, where we'll cover that a little bit more in the satellite imagery later on. The CMC model then takes the storm through to China as is pretty much forecasted, and another typhoon forms behind that as well and makes landfall in the Philippines, pretty much the same location, possibly as an even stronger storm, and then moving on to Taiwan and China. The GFS model has some re-strengthening on the cards. As said, it may be developed back into a typhoon, we don't know yet. And that next system formed behind it might be too large to really develop into anything significant. Certainly not going to affect the Philippines according to the GFS model either. So looking at this visual representation of the GFS model as well, you can see the storm move towards the west-northwest, possibly becoming a Category 1 typhoon as it moves towards that direction, making landfall either on the northeastern tip of Hainan Island or a bit further north into Guangzhou province of China, where it will then make a third landfall potentially on the coast of Vietnam. But looking at the latest satellite imagery, it's not been as convincing. Of course, the storm's been traversing a land area, mountainous at that, but you can see it just beginning to fall apart ever so slightly as it heads towards the west-northwest. Certainly no visible signs of an eye. Most of the thunderstorm and rain activity is towards the storm's southern side. To the north, there isn't actually that much going on. Taiwan, for instance, probably won't be seeing much in the way of inclement weather due to the storm, but expected to move towards the west-northwest. The direction is pretty clear, but at this rate, if that continues, it could possibly weaken further if it's going to intensify further after that, perhaps. We'll see what happens in the next 12 to 24 hours. Either way, China should prepare for a typhoon just in case. As of September 14th at 8 PM UTC, Odile is the one to look at right now, a Category 3 hurricane, just down from Cat 4 as well. Edward is also a Category 1 hurricane in the Atlantic, could develop into a Cat 3 later on. Kalmaegi moving towards the west-northwest as said, and Invest 96W in the Western Pacific too. 56 tropical storms have formed so far in 2014 worldwide. 30 of those have become Category 1 hurricanes or their equivalents around the world, 74 miles per hour sustained winds or higher, and 17 have become Category 3 storms with winds of 115 miles per hour plus. Edward could make that number 18, which would be just one off 2010. You can visit Force 13 on any of its outlets, there's 6 of those. The website, force13.com, is the main place to be for all goings-on storm-wise. Of course, the video pages will keep you regularly updated as well. YouTube and Dailymotion, just search Force 13 on those. They are prioritised by the area of most threat. And of course, the social pages too. Facebook and Twitter, just search Force 13 on there, at Force 13 on Twitter if you'd like to send a message. And you can speak to me personally on Skype. Just add Fool13 for tropical weather chat on there. As always, the control room and the forum is also open on the website. The control room will extend to the Western Pacific at some point in the near future. That's all for now from this storm. The next update will follow in 24 hours' time.